teachers hungry keeps the wells of knowledge dry. With these anonymous quotes, we welcome you to another edition of this wonderful program on radio, Education Today. Education Today is a program that aims to call the attention of the public to education matters as it affects the educational system and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday on this station, Light Radio, and I am Nima.
And I am Said. Our goal is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influence public opinion, and drive effective educational policy directions to guide the formulators and the implementers. For your comments, questions, and contributions, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/Light Radio, X at The Light Radio, Instagram Light_Radio, YouTube Light Radio. You can also call or send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 0809 738 4000. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. If you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio. We kick off with the new segments with, of course, Nima. Hello, Nima.
Hello, good afternoon. Trust your weekend is going well.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon once again, and you are welcome to the news on Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Senate to review TET fund inclusion for monotechnics. Federal government begins initiative to teach mathematics in Yoruba language. Federal Executive Council approves 1 million science textbooks for secondary schools. And on the foreign scene, White House issues new student debt relief plan before election. Now the details. A senator representing Oyo Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Eunice Akintade, said on Thursday that the Senate has promised to look into the issue of the non-inclusion of monotechnics as beneficiaries of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund and other related matters. He gave the assurance in response to the request of the Provost of the Federal College of Forestry, Ibadan, Ibrahim Lawal, at the 85th anniversary of the Institute. Earlier, the Provost requested more funding for the Institute to carry out research in various fields that would be of immense benefit to the nation. He also reiterated that the Federal College of Forestry, Ibadan, under FRIN, has benefited from the ETF now TET fund in years past, however discontinued over a decade ago, which has certainly slowed down the college's research and teaching activities, as well as infrastructural development. Also speaking, the Oyo State Deputy Governor Bayo Lawal implored the federal government to put in place the necessary mechanisms that would promote a continuous tree planting system and other environmental health practices to address the challenges of flooding and environmental degradation. The federal government, through the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, NEPA, has commenced moves towards the teaching of mathematics subjects in Yoruba language. To achieve this, the institute said it has taken a bold step towards revolutionizing math education in the country by hosting a pioneering 2-day training on teaching mathematics using the Yoruba indigenous language and early grade mathematics. NIEPA's major officer, Bodude Tenabe, said in a statement that the training brought together renowned experts, Dr. Kehinde Adenegan, Dr. Sulaiman Mohammed Raji, Dr. Tolu Omiyale, and Fola Jogun Akikuowo, who delivered insightful sessions on various topics, which included a translation overview of the primary 1 to 6 mathematics curriculum in Yoruba. The acting director general of NIEPA, Dr. David Shofoyeke, said that the training, in partnership with Yoruba mathematics class on YouTube, marked NIEPA's first public training on utilizing Yoruba language to teach mathematics to early grade students. And lastly, Adenego, who incorporated mathematics drama into his teaching approach, emphasized that it is high time we leveraged our indigenous resources to enhance classroom instructions and make teaching learning effective, with language choice being a crucial factor. The Federal Executive Council on Wednesday has approved the printing of 1 million science textbooks for distribution to all public secondary schools nationwide. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekperikpe Ekpo, told journalists that the program targets areas of deficiencies in critical subjects such as physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. This followed a memo tabled by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Oil, Heineken Lokpobiri, on behalf of the Petroleum Technology Development Fund. He explained that the initiative seeks to bridge the gap to enable Nigeria to match up with the rest of the world in engineering and tech development. In addition, the textbooks will be distributed to 774 local government areas, 104 unity schools, and 122 special schools, as the PTDF also plans to build digital and physical libraries in about 1 professor of constitutional law and governance. Umaru said Omarege emerged as the 11th Vice Chancellor of the university out of the 27 that applied for the coveted seat. According to reports, the new Vice Chancellor, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, would take over from the incumbent, Professor Lilian Salami, whose tenure ends on December 1st. Born on April 5th, 1969, Professor Omarege is a native of Benin and attended the University of Benin for his first, second, and third degrees. He was called to the Nigerian bar in 1992 and conferred with the prestigious Senior Advocate of Nigeria in 2021. And away from Nigeria, despite legal hurdles and the fast approaching election, the White House is forging ahead with another broad student debt relief plan in the waning days of Joe Biden's presidency. The Federal Education Department released the much-anticipated proposal, which the Biden administration says could provide student loan forgiveness to approximately 8 million Americans on Friday. The proposed rules likely represent the last significant student debt-related action that the Biden administration will take before the next U.S. president is decided in early November. The regulations would authorize the U.S. Education Secretary to automatically cancel the debt of potentially millions of student loan borrowers whom the government expects will likely default on their loans in the next 2 years, provided they meet certain criteria based on household income, assets, and pre-existing debts. A second component of the plan would create a new application through which borrowers experiencing forms of hardship could apply for forgiveness. And among other categories, those challenges would include chronic illness, medical debts, costs related to childcare, and the impact of natural disasters. That's all on the news for today, but before we go, a quick recap of the top stories. Senate to review TET fund inclusion for monotechnics. Federal government begins initiative to teach mathematics in Yoruba language. Federal Executive Council has approved 1 million science textbooks for secondary schools across the country. And on the foreign scene, White House issues new student debt relief plan before election. Says million may qualify. And that's the news, which was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Don't forget, for the coverage of your educational events, seminars, competitions, fairs, among others, you can call us on 0702-507-4268, or you send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Education Today will be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us up till this moment. And right now, we'll take the country in focus with Said. Good afternoon once again, Said.
Good afternoon, Emma.
All right, you have the floor.
Okay. You're welcome to the Country in Focus segment where we consider a particular country of the world, its basic features, and most importantly, its educational system for the benefit of our listeners. I am Said Olandewaju. Today, our country in focus is Drumbo, China. China, officially known as the People's Republic of China, is the third largest country in the world by area and the second most populous with over 1.4 billion people. Located in East Asia, China is a key player on the Asian continent, bordered by 14 countries, the most of any country globally, giving it a significant geopolitical presence in the region. China's history is one of the world's oldest, with a civilization that dates back to the Qing dynasty from 2100 BCE to 1200 BCE. Over the millennia, China has been shaped by influential dynasties, each leaving its mark on Chinese culture, governance, and territory. The Qing dynasty, 221 BCE to 206 BCE, unified China and initiated the construction of the Great Wall, symbolizing unity and protection. The Han dynasty, 206 BCE to 220 CE, is renowned for its cultural advancements and the expansion of the Silk Road, which opened China to trade with the West. The Tang dynasty, 618 CE to 907 CE, ushered in an era of cultural and artistic flourishing, while the Qing dynasty, 1644 CE to 1912 CE, marked the last imperial rule in China before the country transitions towards modernization in the 20th century. China stands proudly as the world's second largest economy by nominal GDP, with an economic landscape spanning manufacturing, technology, finance, and services. Since the economic reforms of the 1980s, China has achieved rapid growth supported by a large population, strategic policies, and substantial investment in infrastructure. China's economy is heavily focused on export and manufacturing, often called the world factory due to its extensive production capacity. However, recent shifts are steering the economy towards innovation, particularly in high-tech industry such as AI, renewable energy, and biotechnology. China is also investing massively in initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI) to expand its economic influence globally by building infrastructure and establishing trade routes across Africa, Asia, and Europe. As of 2022, China's population stands at approximately 1.44 billion, making it the world's second most populous country globally, only behind India, accounting for about 18% of the world's population. While China's population is projected to reach 1.45 billion by 2030, the growth rate has slowed and demographic trends point to challenges ahead. The aging population and declining birth rate pose significant concerns for China's labor force and economic sustainability, prompting the government to relax its long-standing one-child policy to encourage larger families. Urbanization continues to reshape China's demographic landscape, with over 60% of the population now living in urban areas, particularly in megacities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. China's educational system is highly competitive and places a strong emphasis on meritocracy. It consists of primary education, secondary education, and higher education, all structured to prepare students rigorously for national exams and competitive job markets. Primary education covers 6 years and focuses on foundational subjects such as Chinese, mathematics, and science. Secondary education comprises 3 years of junior middle school, followed by 3 years of senior middle school, culminating in the Gaokao, a high-stakes college entrance exam. The Gaokao serves as a pivotal point in Chinese students' lives as their scores determine eligibility for university admission, significantly influencing their educational and career trajectories. In higher education, China has experienced significant expansion since the 1990s, with over 37.5% of its 18 to 22-year-olds now pursuing tertiary education. China's double first-class university plan, initiated in 2015, aims to elevate the research and innovation capabilities of its leading institutions to create a globally competitive higher education system. Despite the rapid growth in higher education, concerns remain over teaching quality, reliance on rote memorization, and regional inequalities in educational resources, particularly between urban and rural areas. China's educational reforms address several key challenges. The Education Reform Plan of 2010 aims to improve quality, accessibility, and equity across the system. Regional disparities are evident as rural and migrant populations often have limited access to quality education compared to urban residents. Other issues include teacher shortages, an overemphasis on standardized testing, and the need for more diversified curricula and teaching methods. In response, China has introduced initiatives such as the AI Education Initiative of 2019 to integrate AI technologies in education, further positioning itself as a leader in technology-based education reforms. China's educational institutions vary widely, including public, private, and international schools, each offering distinct learning experiences. Public schools provide government-funded education with low or no tuition fees, while private schools often charge higher fees in exchange for enhanced resources. International schools cater to expatriate families and offer curricula aligned with global standards. Vocational schools focus on skill development in technical fields, responding to China's demand for a skilled workforce. Additionally, online and distance learning platforms are becoming more popular, allowing greater flexibility in education access. The curriculum in primary and secondary schools includes core subjects such as Chinese, mathematics, and science, with foreign languages, mainly English, introduced at the junior secondary level. By senior secondary school, students can choose electives in humanities, sciences, and technology. This structured approach ensures that students receive a balanced education while allowing for specialization as they advance. Post-secondary education offers a range of specialized programs from technical fields to liberal arts, depending on individual career aspirations. China invests significantly in education, dedicating a whopping 4.3% of its GDP to educational spending as of 2020. The country has over 2,500 universities and hosts a growing number of international students, attracting over 490 students in 2020 alone. China's Belt and Road Initiative of 2013, as previously mentioned, also promotes educational exchanges and cultural integration, broadening its influence in global education. While not directly related to the education system, China faces pressing environmental challenges due to industrial growth and urbanization. Air pollution, deforestation, and water scarcity are significant issues that the government is addressing through policy initiatives aimed at sustainable development. China's ambitious target for renewable energy and its role in Paris Agreement reflect its commitment to addressing climate change on a global scale. China's rich historical legacy, economic strength, and competitive educational system have established it as a global leader. However, challenges such as population aging, educational inequality, and environmental sustainability will shape its future trajectory. Through strategic reforms, technological integration, and a commitment to continuous improvement, China continues to position itself as a pivotal force in the 21st century. That's it on the Country in Focus segment for today. I hope you have learned a lot about China. I remain Saeed. Education Today continues in a moment. Please stay with us. Today on Light Radio. Now that was a Country in Focus segment. Now we'll be taking the question of the week with Nema. Hello again, Nema.
Hello, thank you for having me once again. Good day and welcome once again to the segment for the profession of the week, and I remain Nima Ibrahim. And on this segment, we x-ray a particular profession or field of human endeavor within the educational sector And I'll be telling you what it is about, the knowledge and educational qualifications required for admission into tertiary institutions to study these professions, the years of training required, and schools that have the accreditation to offer these courses. And on today's episode, we are considering a rather interesting profession, I tell you. And we are looking at sports management, sports organizations, events, and facilities. It encompasses business, marketing, finance, law, and communication to ensure successful sports operations. Now, Carrie told you this is a rather interesting profession, didn't I? So let's delve into it more. Also, a career in sports management offer a lot of benefits, which include opportunities for career advancement, travel, and networking opportunities. Regardless of your gender, if you have a flair for traveling and networking opportunity, you might want to consider this profession as a choice. You also benefit being having personal fulfillment from working in sports. It's a course, it's a profession that you'd enjoy doing, no stress and all. Then you also have a potential for high earnings, and then there are a variety of job roles in industries. I mean, if you've been following, you saw the career path, you heard the career paths I told you are available when you study this profession. And then to reap these benefits, an individual must be equipped with no less than the following skills I will be mentioning, and they include communication and leadership skill, business and financial management, marketing and promotion, conflict resolution and negotiation, knowledge of sports law and regulations, according to countries and etc. Also, available certifications for a sports manager include the CSM, which is the Certified Sports Manager, the CAA, which is the Certified Athletic Administrator, the CEM, the Certified Events Manager, and others. Meanwhile, the economic rewards for a sports manager, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, the median annual wage for sports manager, for the entry level, we have between $30,000 to $60,000 per year. For mid-level entry, we have the $60,000 to $120,000 per year, and the senior level will be taking home $120,000 to $250,000 per year. While in Nigeria, the salary ranges between 50,000 to 150,000 naira per month for the entry level, while the middle level takes home between 200,000 and 500,000 naira per month, and the senior level looks at 500,000 naira and 1.5 million naira per month. Now, the academic requirements to study sports management include the Bachelor of Science in Sports Management, Bachelor of Arts in Sports Management, Master of Science in Sports Management, Master of Business Administration, MBA in Sports Management, and also postgraduate diploma in sports management. And the requirements include UTME. We'll also have the O-level credits in relevant subjects such as English, mathematics, and economics. We have the post-UTME screening for undergraduate programs. We have the bachelor's degree in a related field for postgraduate programs, and we also have the NYSC discharge certificate also for postgraduate programs. However, we recommend that you view the JAMB brochure, as admission requirements may vary in different universities. So quickly, universities offering sport management programs in Nigeria, especially at the postgraduate level, include the University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, University of Nigeria, Ahmadu Bello University, National Institutes of Sport, Lagos State University, among others. While in the U.S., sports management can be studied in the following universities. We have the Rice University located in Houston, Texas, University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida, University of Michigan, University of Miami, among others. Sport management offers a rewarding and challenging career path for those passionate about sports and business alike. And with the right education, skills, and certifications Professionals can excel in various roles and enjoy the juicy economic rewards that come with being a sports manager. And that's it on the profession of the week for today. I still am Nima Ibrahim. Education today continues in a moment. Please don't go nowhere.
Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa tẹ́ bá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
You're still on to Education Today on Light Radio, and right now we are moving into the discuss segment, and our guest is very much here with us. And today we are discussing change of education ministers in Nigeria. What are the implications?
A quick background. On Wednesday, 23rd of October 2024, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu reshuffled the federal cabinet, dropping some ministers, reassigning some, and appointing new ones for screening by the Senate. One of the ministries affected is education. The president sacked Professor Tahir Maman as the education minister and moved the Minister of State, Dr. Tanko Sununu, to Ministry of Health. The president also moved the Minister of State for Health to the Education Ministry to become the substantive minister, while he appointed Dr. Suweiba Ahmed as Minister of State for Education, pending a clearance by the Senate. On the program today, we want to examine these actions and the implications for the education sector in Nigeria.
And joining us on the program today, we have an educational administrator, lecturer, researcher, and educational consultant, and our in-house analyst. We're talking about no other than Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Good afternoon, Mr. KAZEEM.
Good afternoon, Nima. Good afternoon, Said. And good afternoon, our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
All right, thank you. Do not forget, as the audience, you can be part of the discourse by sending your comments and questions to 0809-738-4000, or you drop your comments via the live video feeds on Facebook and YouTube. Before moving into the discourse proper, our short quiz question for this edition is: which country is the second largest economy in the world? Again, which country is considered to be the second largest economy in the world? Send your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809-738-4000, or you drop it as a comment under our Facebook or YouTube live feed. The first correct answer wins the prize. Now, we move into the discourse proper. All right. So, Mr. KAZEEM, I'd like to go first. What was your reaction when you heard of this, appointments and disappointment, like let's say, the placing and, this replacement generally? What was your reaction to, and do you feel it was necessary at all in the first place?
Well, I had mixed feelings with the action of the president,
As
actually.
expected?
It's something a lot of Nigerians have actually expected, because looking at the quantum, the size of the cabinet, this is the largest in the history of the country.
Wow.
You have as much as, about 50 cabinet ministers. Following the departure of Samuel Lalong back to the Senate and the suspension of Betta Edu, so we were left with 48 ministers. And at the end of the day, you look at it, for more than 12 months, it really can't point at, some of the significant achievements over, these appointees. So a lot of Nigerians have actually been calling for a reshuffling of the cabinet, dropping of some ministers, and probably reshuffling in a way that, okay, even if you are not sacking them, probably you might place them in areas where they are better suited, especially because if you are having, square pegs, manning different holes, at the end of the day, see, they're not going to, deliver anything substantial, because a lot of them probably would only be learning on the job. You don't have the expertise, the required knowledge, that such areas, demand of them. So for me, I was at long last. But eventually, when I had that, it's just 5 ministers that were dropped. And I was like, 5 out of 48.
Yeah, still left with more
See,
than 40.
43 left. So, significantly, because I still beg the question that, who is the Minister of Transport? Who is the Minister of Information? You have to rack your brain. Who is the Minister of Agriculture? You would rack your brain.
Okay.
For a lot of us, if not for the fact that probably because of this program and the fact that some of us are, very much interested in education, you ask some people, who is the Minister of State for Education? Apart from probably from Professor Tari Mama, who is the Minister of State for Education? A lot of people don't even know him. Do you get it?
Yeah.
You have a Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, and you're like, what has that ministry been doing? And who is the minister? You don't even know. Or how many people, for instance? The position is very, very relevant if you understand, what we call the blue economy in today's world. Okay. But then you have a minister who is just cooling off somewhere. How would you believe? Would you believe that you have a former governor, the former governor of Osun State, Sagboyi Itola, is actually the minister of Marine and Blue Economy? Ask yourself, what does he know about blue economy? And what has the ministry been doing all this while? So, these were some of the questions so you were expecting that probably if the president really wanted to do something significant, it would be sweeping.
Yes, general.
But unfortunately, we didn't get that. Some were drawn like Minister of State for Public Transportation. Like, we don't even know the name. Something Guazo, and like, good riddance, bad rubbish. He had Minister of Tourism, and I have never seen her for once. I don't even know how she looks like. But she was eventually dropped. So we're like, those ones are normal. But then, you now have, a minister, the ones that, so, like when I said mixed feeling, some I expected. Some I expected they should be dropped, but they were not dropped.
Okay.
But some I actually didn't expect them to be dropped. One of them is Professor Tahir Maman. Sincerely, for me, it came to me as a rude shock that the Minister of State was moved away from education. It's something that because as far as I'm concerned, I feel like he's like a fish out of water, taken out of water. This is a medical doctor. He's a medical doctor. Now he has been moved to serve as Minister of State for Health. Welcome development. So it was a mixed feeling. Then the Minister of Women Affairs, although yes, we can say probably the one is loquacious, loose and kind of like very, very fiery and cantankerous. But then as far as the work of that ministry is concerned, she's doing a yeoman's job. Yeah. But she was also dropped. And at the end of the day, looking at everything, I just felt that, see, those that were dropped are probably those who are actually, who lacked, political, how do I put it, weight. As far as the reckoning of the president is concerned, those who lacked godfathers. Because you look at it, Professor Tari Maman came from where? He was used.
Wow.
Yeah. He came from Bayes University, a former DG of the Nigerian Law School, a professor of law. But then, he was only used because the running mates to Mr. Peter Obi came from Labour Party.
Or could it be a case
so it was a case of, so for me, by my own assessment, I might be wrong, I'm sorry, but then by my own perception, I feel like he was only used as a way probably to silence Mr. Yusuf Datida. See, after all, I have appointed your VC, the VC of your university, as the education minister. So whatever ideas you have about education, you can give to him. And for the fact that I also appointed your elder brother, Hakim Dati Baba Ahmed, as a special advisor in the office of the vice president on political matters. So I have satisfied your family. So please, guy, go and sit down. And at the end of the day, did you hear anything from Yusuf since last year? I didn't hear anything again. So but now he has been used, and probably they feel like there are some other members of the political APC family who probably still need a job. So that's my own assessment, because I feel like Professor Tari Mama, as far as I'm concerned, is still, trying in the education ministry. So that's
All right, so I share some of your views on this, but then let's just hope that this the new minister, Mr. Alausa, let's hope that he performs, or at least he brings some of these policies that we've been waiting for. He brings them to life. Side.
I don't know. I feel like I do share some of your sentiments too. So of course they're not like substantiated, but they're very reasonable. Yes. So thank you for that, Mr. Kazeem. Okay. The question I would like to ask you is, I think I can deduce, but I want you to just like to shed more light on it. Right? Did the appointment really, the person that was, let me say, for the education minister particular, that you said you were not expecting, right? Was the replacement to your expectation, right? So
The new minister, you mean?
yes.
well, probably for those who don't know, the former minister of state for health, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has now been moved to the education ministry as a substantive minister, replacing Professor Tahir Maman. So, did I expect that? I would say no. Because I'm afraid that, I hope it's not what happened to Dr. Tanko Yusuf Sununu. It's not the same thing that will happen to Dr. Tunji Alausa. And I'm saying this because I feel like Dr. Alausa, a medical doctor, graduated from University of Lagos. And after his, then he traveled out of the country. He has been working out of the country. He has been working in the US, as a resident doctor. He's, a nephrologist. So that's his specialty in medicine. So a nephrologist, so someone who sees to, the study of the kidney and all the diseases associated with that and whatsoever like that. So if you still remember your basic biology. So now, that's his specialty. And we got information that is actually the personal physician to President Tinubu. So, but as a minister of state for health, he has been doing a yeoman's job. Now, bringing him to education ministry, probably the idea is that, okay, as an administrator, you can bring your experience to bear in education. Okay. But then I feel like, for the fact that he is to be supported by Dr. Suwaiba Ahmed. That for me is a square peg in a square hole, if anything like that exists. Okay. All right. So yeah, because she's an associate professor of chemistry education, and she, she was just, a provost of a college of education in Jigawa State, and she's an associate professor who has been with BUK for almost about 17 years. So this is someone that we can say, yes, understands the education sector, works within the education sector, and has contributed immensely within the education sector. So if Dr. Tunji Alausa will probably not feel like, well, I'm this, superordinate and she's the subordinate, that if he's ready to work with the critical stakeholders in the education sector, I think that might be okay. But for me, I just felt that I'm afraid that there could be a lacuna in the sense that Professor Tahir Maman and Dr. Yusuf Sununu were working on something together before, this reshufflement. Now, with this reshuffle, it meant that both ministers were taken outrightly. So whoever those two that would come in now will be coming in afresh. It's as if the ministry is just starting afresh. I'm afraid. A lot of people, we Nigerians not generally have this attitude of, I want to start my own thing. My own fresh ideas. So at the end of the day, we are always going back to square one. Every now and then, we're going back to square one because everyone wants to start afresh. Yeah. If he would not be like, well, that was Professor Tahir Maman and he's no longer in government. So I don't need to probably bother about him again. Let me start my own fresh ideas. If they won't do that, because I feel like there are some very good things that, were started. If they can continue in that regard, fine, no problem. But I'm afraid I'm not too satisfied with the choice of Dr. Tunji Alausa as education minister, being a medical doctor and not someone probably who, for the fact that if his medical practice was not even in Nigeria, probably he could have, been privy to a whole lot of challenges education in Nigeria has faced. But then I feel like working in the United States with the experience of how education runs in the United States, and if he probably compares that with what we do in Nigeria, probably he can bring his administrative experience to bear on how better we should run education in Nigeria. If he will be willing to do that, I will be very much for it.
You know, just like the conversation I was having with you earlier, when I read his profile and I saw that, you know, all his degrees were all in the medical field. So I'm like, this person doesn't even have any certification in education management or anything. Well, let's hope for the best.
You know, it's always, you see, the way we treat education in Nigeria, for me, and I must say this because this is an education program.
Yes.
See, we always relegate education to, to the back. We always feel, we consider education as second to other, so to say, critical, priority areas. Because you're talking about the fact, see, how ordinarily would Nigerians feel if probably an educationist, someone who probably is just a classroom teacher, is actually brought to be Minister of Health?
Yes, I wonder too.
Or an engineer is actually brought to be in the Attorney General of the Federation. And you say, after all, it's, that is
odd.
You will consider that odd, but no one is actually feeling it odd. They are just bringing a medical doctor to run the education sector.
Someone that practiced all his life outside Nigeria.
Sincerely, I feel like we have a problem with the way we treat education. And that's why, I see, I'm not surprised with the output we are getting. Seriously. Because you're bringing people that are not involved in the day-to-day affairs. They don't probably even have any business or anything related to education, and they are the ones you are bringing to run the education sector.
To head an entire ministry.
Sincerely. Because they will say, well, they are administrators, they are not. After all, they have permanent secretaries.
I'm actually quite confused and surprised, right? Like, the president has the choice of, let me call her professor, right? Dr. Suwaiba Ahmed, right? Who, based on like your citation, right, has an associate professor, has been in the country for years, right? Someone that at least relatively is familiar with our educational
field,
yeah. The field, yeah. So then, in his, or let me say, the federal executive, like very deep thinking, could come up with Dr. Tuji Alausa, who dare to, let me probably say, transport from the United States. Like, what is the rationale? What could they be thinking to pick Dr.
To place Dr. Alausa over the associate professor.
Exactly.
Now, see, the truth is that it's just pure politics. See, Dr. Tuji Alausa is a Lagosian. I'm a Lagosian. Seriously, see, for me, I'm not a politician, so I care less about what they think. But naturally, you would see that this is all politics. That you sack a professor and you bring in a medical doctor to replace him.
Like, it's just not adding up, especially when you have like a professor replacement.
Now, and you now have an associate professor who probably will be a professor by next year or thereabout to now work under that doctor, that medical doctor. It shows the priority we're talking about. Then again, it's also a case of you cannot give these people this control again. It's like we've given them and probably they've misused their chance. So let us put our own boy, so to say. Because I'm trying to imagine that. What is there in making that minister of state the substantive minister? And you, okay, being a medical doctor and you have this idea, okay, work with her.
Yes.
But we decide not to do that. I will feel like, okay, let us elevate the Lagos boy and place this Hausa girl. That's what I'm seeing. It might not be, but then that is the meaning that I can read to it.
It's actually reasonable if one thinks about it that way. Yeah. So
seriously.
What nepotism where
nepotism?
Well, I won't accuse them of nepotism, but it's a case of. It could be a case of. See, we need someone that belongs to the political family, so to say. See, it's about politics. It's about election, and it's about probably 2027. See, if you look at a lot of these things, the permutations, see, politicians don't think about just tomorrow. They are thinking of the next election.
Actually. It's well, actually, let me not digress. But the appointment of General Chukwemeka Ojoko's wife also garnered a lot of attention. Like,
so you can see that. That's why, yeah, she's an ambassador. Ordinarily for me, I don't have any issues. She's an ambassador. She has been an ambassador to Ghana, ambassador to Spain.
Of course.
And so for that reason and for her international exposure, one way or the other, She's qualified
Yeah,
to be placed in that ministry.
That position.
But then you're talking about some. See, that's what we were saying, that if for foreign affairs we feel like we need professionals, we have Ambassador Yusuf Tuga. Yeah, the minister of, that's an ambassador, a proper diplomat to the core as Minister of Foreign Affairs. But education, let's just put anybody.
All right, so moving on, I'm still on Professor Tahir Maman and Dr. Osunono. How would you rate their performance, within the duration they served for?
For me, they try their best, at least one way or the other. One of the things that they try to achieve, but which I will still place at the doorstep of the president, for instance, is the fact that he tried to probably resolve some of these issues, the outstanding issues with these, tertiary institution unions, including ASU, and the removal of these tertiary institutions from IPPIS. Now, he was able to remove TED fund and, TED fund and, research grants away from TSA, got the Federal Executive Council to approve the removal of these tertiary institutions from IPPIS. The Federal Executive Council decision, and yet the Office of the Accountant General failed to implement that. And there was nothing, no consequences for that, for flouting a Federal Executive Council decision. So that is not a blame of, Professor Tahir Maman. People will talk about the fact that, the issue, they would say, this 18-year-old, so to say, age requirement for admission, probably that was more like his undoing for a lot of people. And for them to say, good, let him just go. This same man that was trying to, but unfortunately forgetting the fact that that's a policy, thing. It's there in our national policy long even before President Tahir Maman came. He was only trying to implement the policy. And for the fact that he even gave room for the fact that, okay, between now and so, this is when probably the policy would eventually take place and things like that. For the fact that there is a lot of, probably lack of understanding of what that policy requirement is and how the minister intends to, go about its implementation. See, but for me, he did well. One policy they just even inaugurated, one thing they just even started the implementation or they came out with is this new education curriculum for basic education that will involve the, skill component, so that at the end of the day, when a child finishes secondary school, you must have mastered at least 2 skills that even if you're unable to continue with your education, you have something that you can hold on to and with which you can earn a living. That is a plus to him. And for the fact that for the 1 year that he spent, he was able to manage these tertiary institution unions and what have you, including probably even getting a better allocation in terms of at least budgetary, one way or the other, in terms of intervention funds for the tertiary institutions through TED fund. That is something that you can also, praise him for. So for some, and in trying to also rehabilitate or refurbish the unity schools, a lot of them are actually facing dilapidation, and he's trying to work on this, repairs or some of their facilities. It's also something that I can give him kudos for. So for me, in terms of his engagement, I don't have issues with he did under 1 year. No, he performed well. He could have done better. He could have engaged better as well with stakeholders. But then he did his best within the time and the available resources that he has, at his disposal. Why the president removed him, I think that's only known to the president himself.
Okay, so like as a follow-up, in those areas that you feel like Professor Tahir Maman could have done better, like those challenges, would you just basically highlight them for these ministries? Like, how do you think the new ministers are actually going to tackle them?
Well, for me, there are some critical issues that I think are even very much germane right now because they are actually causing ruckus. And first is that of the need for clarity on that age requirement, policy that the ministry wants to actually implement. So that is something that is critically needed. And I would enjoin the new ministers to probably hold a stakeholders, session so that there could be, proper deliberation on this matter to say, is this the next thing for us? Is this of priority right now? Is that what we really need right now? Is that critical to the survival education sector right now, or is something that we can still delay so that we allow people to prepare or whatsoever? That's one. Number two is the leadership crisis that's actually facing University of Abuja right now. And that has to do with the fact that there is this crisis on who becomes the vice chancellor. And the Governor Council came out with, some regulations or, how will I put it, requirements that industry stakeholders fell short of what the standard used to be. Because we have an acting vice chancellor who is only 2 years into her professorship. And people felt that they are trying to make her the substantive Professor Aisha Maikudi. They want to make her the substantive VC of the university. And the rule ordinary is that for you to be a vice chancellor, you must have been a professor for 10 years.
Wow.
That are we trying to cut corners? So this is something that they might need to look at. And we also have the outstanding issue of Federal College of Education Technical Akoka, the leadership issue that caused damage to school facilities and property and things like that. So those leadership issues are very much there. Then you also have threats of strikes by the university, not just even university, the tertiary institution staff unions.
Yes.
The polytechnics are on their own, the universities are on their own.
Even the College of Education.
So these are critical areas that they need to quickly arrest so that we don't throw our tertiary institution into another round of strikes. And for the fact that they really need to up their game in terms of negotiation with these unions, because the federal government has always been recalcitrant in implementing the agreement it signs with these unions. Why sign an agreement when you're not ready to implement them? It shows that you're actually going into such negotiation with bad faith, only to deceive them so that you can prevent the strike. And at the end of the day, you eventually not do what you're supposed to do. Because that's very, very critical. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about the fact that our universities, our tertiary institutions are suffering the scourge of brain drain. Okay, now, Dr. Alausa, being a medical doctor, knows the number of medical doctors Nigeria has lost to other nations.
Abroad, yes.
And it's not just about the medical field now. It also includes the institution, the education sector. Now, so with his experience as a medical doctor, coming into education sector and knowing fully well that education sector is also facing such a scourge of brain drain, then they need to sit themselves down to look at how can we quickly arrest this so that it doesn't get out of hand.
All right, thank you. So moving on, it's not just about having policies. It's about the effective implementation of this policy. So how do you think these new ministers can ensure effective implementation of policy such that they won't be misunderstood or feel like they're attacking one part of the country or all that?
Well, I think the first thing is there should be robust deliberation on matters before you just come out with policies. I think what we try to do is bottom-up approach. Top to bottom approach. When ordinarily we should adopt a bottom to top approach. You want to implement, in management, before you implement policies on people, those who were affected by such policies should have been consulted in the process of formulating such policies. So if you're coming up with a policy and some probably people will be displaced by it or be affected, will lose their jobs or will lose probably their qualification or any other thing like that, there should have been enough discussions for them to say the pros and cons of whatever you're bringing in. Let them see the benefit. Let them see why they need to adjust. And let them see, give them, that should be a time frame for them to probably move to this new area you're trying to take them. Because if they're not seeing what you're seeing, they would look at you that you're only coming, you're probably to punish them. And that's why, people are enemies of what they don't know.
Yeah.
So make them know why this is desirable and what they stand to benefit and how they will benefit. Because sometimes we mouth what people will benefit, but eventually you don't see any benefit. You tell them that it's light at the end of the tunnel and they ask you, so should we even die before we get to the end of the tunnel? Because it's not the way you're going. A lot of us might not even get out of the tunnel to see eventually probably there is light at the end. So don't let us die, because a lot of us might not survive life in the tunnel. So before you take them even into the tunnel, let them understand what they are in for. So it's important that we take note of that. Then I don't know why people are afraid of discussing with those who are professionals on the field.
I don't know too. I do not understand it.
There is generally this sense of arrogance that we are the ones here and we know everything, we know it all. It's not possible. You can't know everything. So, but when you discuss, my people would say that why we don't call elders mad people, even though they have white hair, they look disheveled. It's because they use the knowledge of other people as theirs. Unfortunately, you're not ready to learn from other people, and you want everyone to adopt what you're telling them. It doesn't work that way. Effective engagement matters a lot. Then again we are good when it comes to drafting policies, formulating policies. We are very, very bad. I chose the word bad when it comes to implementation, because we are always not faithful with implementation. We only look for the easy way out, and the one that will probably give us personal benefit. It's not even general. If the benefit is something that is collective, then we could say yes, because probably that's where we want to go. But then we are talking about personal benefit, especially of the political elite, of their cronies. And at the end of the day, we use such personal benefit to thwart the benefit that should have gone to everyone. So it's something very, very critical that we really need to look at.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. KAZEEM. We'll go on a short break right now. When we return, the discussion continues. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You are still listening to Education Today. So remember, we have our short quiz. Which country is the second largest economy in the world? Which you can still answer just by sending your answer to the WhatsApp number 0809-738-4000 or our Facebook or YouTube page. The first correct answer, as always, wins the prize. So, Mr. KAZEEM.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you... So we've been having like a very, very fruitful discussion. So what metrics or indicators would you use to measure the success of our new ministers?
First is, we instead of measuring just, we're saying we want to use these indicators. First is, what terms of reference are we giving them? And that for me is a problem with those who actually appoint these ministers. Before you appoint people, at least there must be a template of what you expect them to do.
Yes.
So what exactly is the agenda that the president is giving to these appointees for them to implement, upon which we can say, yes, these are the indicators that will be able to measure whether you've done well or not. That's number one. Then number two, for me, as someone involved in education, there are some key things that we need to look at. If you look at our Human Development Index, there are critical things that you need to look at. As far as education is concerned, for anyone that will be ministers, one of the things that we'll be able to use to determine whether or not you've done well as a minister and generally as a government. For instance, you talk about the fact that what's the level of enrollment in our schools? What's the literacy level? Out of school children, out of school population. How well have you been able to reduce drastically the number of out of school that currently probably were one of the highest in the world, if not the highest in the world?
And even got it unemployment.
So if you talk about that, might say probably, well, the institutions, they churn out these graduates, but they are not the ones that employ them. So they might not really be the determinant of that alone. The general state of the economy will determine how well people get employed. But it's a function of, are they unemployed because they lack the skills? Or they are unemployed because they have the skills but they couldn't find jobs? There are two separate things entirely. So that might not totally be, about them. So then again, one of the things I also try to look at is, how well are you able to maintain industrial harmony within the entire education sector, where there are no strikes, there are no student revolt, probably because of school fees or one challenge or the other. So are things that we need to look at. So for me, there are critical things that we might use. What level of funding are you able to secure for education? In terms of probably budgetary allocation, I'm looking for that minister that will probably push our budgetary allocation to education away from probably 7% to probably as much as 10, 15%, 15%, something of double digits.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that minister that will do that. Probably ever since the time of, Obasanjo or so, that probably had us probably like around 11 or 12%. Ever since then, we've never had double digits. Since our return to democracy, that's not a shame on us as a nation. I want to compete. That we have professors in Nigeria that are earning $300 a month. What unskilled labor earn in a single day in the United States. Unskilled labor. Our own professors, the highest, the most read set of people, they earn such in a month. Is that not a shame on us as a nation? So these are some of the things that we use. If at the end of the day, the well-being of those who work within the educational sector is improved under, this minister, then I would probably say they've done well.
All right, so rounding up, we talked about effective engagements the other time, just a moment ago. So how do you think the new ministers can engage effectively with stakeholders, including teachers, administrators, to build trust, to rebuild trust and support for education reforms in Nigeria quickly?
First is they need to probably be open-minded to new ideas and to the challenges, because sometimes I feel like the moment people find themselves in political offices, their realities become different from ours. So I think that is a need for us to look critically into such areas to see if at all our interests align. Our interests align in what sense? That what we are seeing, are they seeing it? Then are they willing to engage with us, to allow us discuss? Are they giving us platforms? So I would encourage these ministers to open up platforms for this engagement. Let them engage with the industry sector players. Let them engage with the civil servant in the ministry. Let them engage with the unions at different levels and different areas within the education sector. Then I want to give them this assignment. These are some of the things that I want them to probably quickly look at. Apart from the out of school population that we mentioned, I want them to still look at this new education curriculum that Professor Tahir Maman and Dr. Yusuf Sununu worked on. Let them work towards the implementation. They don't have to probably like rubbish it or throw it away because they want to start their own again. But they might need to probably review it if at all they feel like. But I feel like they have to still work with the same civil servant that you still have in the ministry. Beyond that is the issue of increased funding. Let them look at the possibility of increasing the budgetary allocation to education, especially now that, because the federal government is already working on the 2025 budget, and these new ministers will just be coming in, not knowing what probably they have been worked on or whatsoever. So they might need to probably look at their priorities again to see if at all the budget will capture the priorities for 2025. Beyond that is the usual proliferation of schools. We are seeing the existing ones are not properly funded, and we are still increasing new. I think they should recommend to the president that there should be an embargo on the establishment of new institutions. Yes. No, seriously, we really need to consider that. It doesn't make sense. We have the existing ones not properly funded, and you are still creating more. It doesn't make any sense. Then the power supply challenges in these schools, because this issue of band A, band B has thrown a lot of schools into chaos. Now students are revolting because these schools now are preparing for resumption, and they are coming up with new regime of fees. I know of University of Lagos that is saying probably utility fees will now probably be 40,000 separate from the school fees. Now the students are saying, NAS is saying we don't go agree. So it's something that the government itself needs to look at. Can we work on probably power subsidy for these institutions, or probably look at let us take them out of band A, let us put them in band B, so that they might still probably be able to afford the cost of electricity. See, they are not business ventures, so we should probably not look at them in that regard. So that is something very, very critical. And on a final note, like I would say, is the fact that as they are engaging, let them have an agenda for such engagement. So it's not just so you don't just have another talk shop. Because that is what we are good at in Nigeria. Let us give them something to chew. So let them start talking while we continue our own plans and shenanigans. It doesn't make sense. If you are not ready to implement what those talk shops are meant for, then let us not just waste money organizing them. Because I don't think we need to organize them before we can do the right thing. But if we are doing it because we feel like we really need to hear from them and see if at all we can adjust our plans and programs in line with the realities and the challenges that they face. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all we can take on the discuss segment for today, and we'd like to appreciate Mr. KAZEEM. Thank you for the beautiful insights you always provide. So moving on, you are welcome to the Words on the Marble segment.
Please, no, sorry. We have like some interesting comments on our Facebook page, and particularly regarding the appointment of the new minister.
Okay.
So, if you can.
From Yusuf Abiodun.
Yeah.
Take that.
He said it is a compensation game rather than the problems of a strategy. Right? So
I love that.
Which is quite in line with what you also said, right? So
like I've done your bidding, so in 1 year,
No.
I'm going to bring my own person later.
Or probably a case of, well, at least apart from that, it's a case of my boys worked for me during the election, so it's time for
Yes.
them to
For them
enjoy,
to
to
exactly-
reap the fruit of their.
So yeah, thank you for that, Mrs. Abedin.
More like playing games with the lives of Nigerians.
Yeah, so yeah, so you're welcome to the word of.
All right, you're welcome to the Words on the Marble segment of Education Today, where we take a look at memorable quotes that are educational and inspirational to everyone. And today we have a quote from China's leader Mao Zedong. And according to Mao, all men must die, but death can vary in its significance. To die for the people is weightier than Mount Tai, but to work for the fastest and die for the exploiters and oppressors is lighter than a feather. And that's our words on the marble for today. And this implies that at all times we must be ready to stand for the people in defending them and their interests, even at the expense of our own lives. We either live for a worthwhile cause or die for nothing. And in addition, I'd like to say, the popular saying is, if you stand for nothing, if you fail to stand for something, then you fall for nothing, or you fall for everything that comes your way. So let us imbibe the culture of standing up for something, so that people will be able to say, at least when it was your time to lead the country, you did your own part in growing the economy. And that's all for the words on the marble. So do we have a winner?
Yeah, actually, we have a winner.
And who is that?
Yeah, we have Ayub Aroye, who said China is the second largest economy in the world. He also
there
actually
you
left
have
a
it.
comment at the profession of sport management, calling it a very lucrative profession. And yeah, Mr. Hassan Kodri Atiniyi, thank you for your comments. And of course, Ibrahim Nemolaide for watching. Thank you too.
All right, so this Mr. Ayub, thank you very much for joining the program and getting the quiz question correctly. We'll contact you on how to redeem your prize. So this is to inform you, our esteemed listeners, that you can sponsor this program and advertise your products and services, as well as showcase your events on our program. You can do this by calling the numbers 0702-507-4268 or 0703-953-8998. Let us know how you feel about this program through our Facebook platform /Education Today.
Yeah, many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today, of course, and the management of Light Radio. The supervising producer has been Tuwais and Feyi, with support from
Mr. Latif.
Yeah, Mr. Latif, yes. Do join us same time next week on this station. I am Saeed Aremo.
And I am Nima Ibrahim. See you next week and goodbye.
Ẹ̀dàkúnyé òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀dàkúnyé òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́